We're back. I like this hook. You got a book you want to tell us about? Well, let's talk. There's no other place to do it. Only on Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze. I love that hook. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your host with the most, Sam the Crazy Man Vera, and I am with none other than
George Medina.
You are horrible.
I'm terrible.
That's it.
I'm terrible, dude. I almost said boo. Like I don't know what to do anymore.
Get fired.
I gotta find something. I gotta find something.
You got do the WAP. Just do something.
Just I wonder why you like that hook, by the way.
That hook?
Yeah,
it's kind of catchy.
I
right?
wonder why.
I can see myself strolling through the park going. I
Really?
can't whistle.
Is that you can't whistle?
No, I can't whistle.
Dude, come on, stop.
I've never been a whistler.
Really?
Never been a whistler.
Oh shit.
Don't know why.
You hum. You're a hummer.
I'm a hummer. Yes,
You're
yes,
a hummer.
yes. Especially after a few burritos, I'm a hummer.
Oh, easy. Whoa. Oh, geez.
Well, welcome to another show on Catch the Craze podcast. This is our Halloween special.
Halloween, yeah. Oh my God, I can't believe it's the end of October already, bro.
It's the end of the road.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
It is nuts.
It's freaking insane.
It is fantastically crazy. We're going to have a very special guest on the show today.
Yes.
None other than El Muerto himself, El Javier Hernandez from California. The guy is a super duper producer, right? He's done comics, he's got movies, he's got everything. He teaches.
Yeah, no, he's a busy guy. He did we meet him in San Diego? Or did you know him before that?
So
I don't remember.
Here's how it happened.
It's been a while.
I don't know if he reached out to me first or if I reached out to him first. And I got to ask him because, my memory's not. Somewhere, I don't know if it was during my massive, crazy campaign and reaching out to people. It probably was. And I got on his show and then I invited him to my show.
He had a show?
Yeah, he had a radio show.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he had a radio show. And that's how we hooked up. And then we met up in LA. And we went out as a group. Remember we went to that
San Diego. You told me.
Yeah,
about.
San Diego.
Yeah.
I said LA.
Yeah. No, I remember that because I remember his table. I remember the whole Muerto. We went out that night. That wasn't the night that you refused to go to Tijuana with us.
No. This is when we went and we went down to this area where this restaurant. We took the big group photo. There was like 30 of us. Remember? And we had Mexican. So what else are you gonna have?
That's Mexican food.
We had
Mexican food. We didn't have Mexicans.
Chimichangas, enchiladas, quesadillas, whatever it was. We had all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went down as a group. I forgot where it was. I don't know if we had to take the trolley there.
Yeah, we had to take the trolley. Yeah, we had to take the trolley.
Tijuana, that's you guys think.
Nah, no, you had a stomach ache.
Yeah, no.
You had a
Mama ain't raised no fool.
Dude.
Speaking of Halloween and horror, you guys were tripping.
That night was something else. I'm telling you, it was something out of a Quentin Tarantino movie. Yes. Went out there with the wolf.
And I saw
the wolf. What's up with the wolf? What's up?
I don't know. The wolf is drinking. All I see is posting pictures of different brands of liquor.
I missed that guy.
Yes,
that guy was a fucking. He was an animal.
Yes.
Oh, freaking.
Yes.
But anyway, go ahead. So what were you saying?
You're gonna get me thrown off the show.
I apologize.
Javier Hernandez. No. Oh, we went down. Yes. So, because George brought it up, and we have a few minutes before our guest comes on the show. Speaking of a horrific event, my fine feathered friends decided that they wanted to take a trip down to Tijuana at night.
Wait, hold on. Before don't forget the story. Hold on. We need to have almost like a segment on the show where you tell some wild and crazy stories. And I was actually talking to Aníbal about this, and he'll laugh. But, like something like, how Jonathan has the sci-facts, fun facts?
Yes.
I think it should be like something like Sammy's Wild World of Stories. And like, you just tell the most outlandish, like that story you told a couple of weeks back about the whale or whatever it was in the water. The alien. Okay.
That was crazy.
But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes.
Carry on with your wild and crazy story here.
No. So, full day at San Diego Comic-Con. We're having fun, right? Making money, whatever. We decide they want to hang out, but then all of a sudden the wolf's like, "Hey, we're going to Tijuana." I said, "What?" So I said, "What?" And they were like, yeah, we're all going to take a trolley. What? And then when we get there, we're going to take a cab deep into Tijuana at night. So wait, hold on. So we be Americans?
Okay, hold on. Hold on.
And you want to go across the border?
So we be Americans?
And you want to go
No, we had just gone during the day, though. Remember we went during the day?
Yeah, it was safe.
Okay. So
but
you felt comfortable.
Happened? Wait. Remember what happened during the day? Remember when we went to go use those guys that were following us? We went to go use the bathroom? And then they were gonna try to hit me up to pay to use the bathroom. Remember? And then we went in as a group. You remember? I was like, yo, what, back to back. It was like, you watch me, I watch my back as I'm going to the urinal.
Okay, I remember little kids asking for 25 cents.
Oh, that was a Michael Jackson scene. Remember? It was like, dame chavo. The little kid comes over
little kid,
and says, hey.
I remember the little kid. I don't remember anybody following.
And then we gave the kid, and then all these kids started coming out of nowhere. It's like a scene out of Michael Jackson's movie. You're running, all these kids like, give me money, right? No, but remember we were walking. And you saw the two guys in the alley, and we're like, oh. And then you don't remember?
No.
Damn.
I don't.
And I'm the one who drinks. So anyway, well, what? Right? And so we go to the bathroom. They go, and they go, you got to pay. I said, I'm paying you nothing. And so we walk right into the bathroom. It was like back to back. Who was standing behind me watching my back?
No. It wasn't me because I don't.
Because
if it was me, I did a very bad job.
Yeah, you did a very bad job.
I obviously did not have your back.
You were not a good spotter. Not a good spotter. No, you're fired. Anyway, so we were there during the day. We got a big tin full of Coronas, iced Coronas. We're getting some
Brian was with us. Wasn't Brian Kong with us?
Brian was with us. We had some tortillas.
There's a photo out there.
And there's federales everywhere, right? They got those guys with the guns.
Sam remembers all the craziest things.
Because I'm looking around, I said, are we protected? We're in Tijuana.
That's
right?
your security background.
Yes. So my eyes are everywhere.
Okay, there you go.
You know how I am.
No, I know.
And so everywhere we went, I'm always on the prowl. Remember when that old man at that McDonald's where he was, and those guys bumped him, and I was like, "Yo, you guys know how to fight?"
Oh,
anyway, that's another story.
God.
So
that's next week's story.
So I got a taste of Tijuana during the day. I was like, "There's no way I want to come." And now we were in the tourist area. These guys wanted to go deep into the heart, into the valley, into the belly of the beast.
We wanted to go in with the locals. We didn't want to go to TJ's. We wanted to go to Tijuana, bro.
Dude, I grew up in Hollis, Queens. I don't need to go to Tijuana. So the whole time, like, how am I gonna get out of this? I was like, I'm plotting.
This is what you were thinking?
Yes.
Oh,
I was
my
like, there's
God.
no way, because something's going to happen. I'll take the bullet. These guys will dip on me.
Oh,
I was like,
Jesus.
because George is not a good spotter. He already proved that he didn't know what was going on.
I wasn't watching your
bathroom.
back. I wasn't watching his back.
Yeah, so you know what's going to happen. And I'm the tall one. They're going to take out the big guy first. Right? So I'm like, no. So as we're getting closer and everyone's getting ready to board the train, the trolley, whatever it is, I was like, oh, my stomach. I was like, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah, that was pretty unbelievable.
Yes, it was awesome.
That was pretty
unbelievable.
unbelievable.
I was like, no, I can't. I'm not going to make it, guys. So they all go by themselves. I go up to the hotel, and I'm sitting there. What was it, Smash Burgers? What was the burgers that we went and bought?
Maybe In-N-Out. I don't think Smash Burgers.
Yeah, In-N-Out Burgers, whatever. And I took it to my room, and I was chilling. And the whole time I was like, these guys are never coming back home.
Nothing happened. Although we did go into some very seedy places. Yes. where I think, and if I remember correctly, and Aniwa can maybe attest to this, even the Wolf, the Wolf knew people in Tijuana that was hanging out that night that were regulars out there. So we sat in this corner of the bar that we were in.
It's just crazy.
Dude, with a spotlight over us.
I'm having anxiety.
It was like something out of a, I swear to God, Quentin Tarantino movie. Boom, and it was 5 of us sitting around this table, and just all you heard was a voice. Okay, this is what you're gonna do. We're gonna do this, and everybody and it was okay, and we sure enough did exactly what we were told to do, and we all got out fine. We're safe. I'm still here.
Yeah. You got lucky.
Fine.
You got lucky.
We were good. You would have had a good time.
You don't want to talk about the things that the rules, all the things that you can't do in these locations.
I skipped the rules.
And guys walking around with guns, and you guys just have pencils and sketch pads.
These cardboard geeks in freaking Tijuana. Whatever. We had a good time.
Yeah. I'm glad you did.
It was fun.
I had a good time. The burger was good.
Yeah.
So, and I got to talk about it.
Wait, now we went to, how many times have we've been, from what I remember, 3 times maybe to San Diego?
Yeah.
Okay, was that the time that we all shared the room I mean, we did a lot of times. Was that while Brian was with us and like we were all in one room?
Yes, that's when. Yes.
When Brian was up late at night drawing them sketch
yes,
cards.
nonstop.
Oh man, he's a beast.
Nonstop.
Yeah, we gotta have him. We gotta have him on the show here
Yes.
also.
Yes. And I had the unfortunate pleasure of sleeping with the wolf.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah,
like,
see, there you go.
Yes, yes. No. Yeah, the wolf is a snorer.
The wolf is
It's a snorer.
Damn.
But that was a crazy, just that whole event. That I don't know. I'm just glad you guys made it back safe and sound.
Dude, back then, what was it? That must have been before 9/11, like pre 9/11.
Yes.
Because getting in and out of Tijuana was easy.
No,
Like,
remember? Wasn't it you? Wasn't it you that got stopped? Because you told them where you were truly from.
No. That's a story I told you about me coming back from Puerto Rico.
No. We went
But I
to
didn't get
Tijuana. We
stopped.
were coming through, and I went. And he says, "Where are you from?" I said, "Brooklyn." He's like, "What are you bringing back?" I was like, "All this." He's like, "All right, go ahead, wise guy." And then wasn't it you that says, "I'm from Guatemala, whatever"? And then he says, "Come over here."
I'm not from
And he had
Guatemala.
to
I'm
pull
from
you-
Ecuador. Yeah,
My bad.
Guatemala.
I wasn't being insensitive.
This guy's being very insensitive.
I wasn't being
I
insensitive.
quit. He said Guatemala. Like first he was gonna say El Salvador. He felt bad about that. He's like, nah, he
I was like, wait a
doesn't look
minute.
Salvadorian.
It was one of these places.
No, Ecuador.
Guadalajara.
But I did it. No, I said because I had my license.
Somebody got pulled, but
No.
they said I'm from whatever, and they said come over here, and we had to wait. We had to wait. It was me, the wolf, the Brian. We all had to wait. That was
Me,
you.
the wolf, the Brian. No, I don't remember this. Maybe,
Yes.
Hey, listen, my memory is shot. So
Yes. And I was like,
we'll
why did you tell them the truth?
yeah, that did happen to me one time coming from Puerto Rico. Though they were like, "Where are you from?" And I said Ecuador. Everybody was saying, like you said, Brooklyn, this and that, and I'm like Ecuador. He's like, "Come here, buddy," and they asked me for my
So
information.
Puerto Ricans discriminating against Ecuadorians?
Absolutely.
That's
No,
just-
it wasn't even. He wasn't even. I don't even think the guy was Puerto Rican. He was just like basically checking to see where everybody was from.
That is.
And yeah,
That is.
but
crazy.
that was pre 9/11. Like now
Yeah.
you can't do that stuff now. That you crazy?
Oh,
Hell no. Like we got in and out of Tijuana. Like you saying all this, they would have been like, "Come here, buddy, boom, handcuffs, get over
They're
here."
like he's got to be American. The damn sarcastic
Smart ass.
Americans. Yes, yeah. Because I knew. I was like, there's no way I'm going to tell you I'm Puerto Rican or whatever.
Well, yeah, and even if you were bringing something back, what were you gonna tell me you were bringing?
Herpes.
What are you bringing?
I was in Tijuana and I got this green stuff growing on my cheek. It's like, what are you going to
It's
tell
not
me?
even like that. Why are you making it sound like Tijuana's like?
It's just disease.
It's
infested.
not.
I was like, nah,
It's
that's
not,
right,
man. A
yeah.
lot of people.
It's scary at night. Why would you go to these unknown places?
Dude,
Hey,
they were like
hey,
teenage kids coming back from the trolley at
It's
night.
like, orderly cab driver. It's like, can you take us to a place where we can
See,
party? I was
the
like,
thing is, but I speak Spanish.
Yes.
So I
Not
was
me.
fine. I
My
was,
Spanish
but that's
is
all right.
broken.
You just exactly. That's what you were scared of. You don't speak the Spanish.
yeah, so I'm like,
You would have been like, "Eh,
Pollo Loco.
pollo loco." Oh man,
Yes, I know. I'm going to hell. I'm going to
Woo.
hell. It's all right, bro.
good times.
Anytime you need a payment, good times. Anytime you need a friend. You remember that? Anyway, so those are good stories. It had nothing to do with Halloween, but it was
No,
scary.
it was scary to
It was
Sam.
scary.
It was scary to Sam. That's what it was.
I was screwed.
Do you get a lot of trick or treaters in this area?
Oh, man. I can't tell you where I live because
Yeah,
you would be squatting me. But this place
Yeah.
is in the news.
Yeah.
2 weeks leading up to Halloween, police are stationed on my property and they're directing traffic.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have to get a police escort into my driveway
Get
because
the hell out of here! Really?
it is.
Well, you were
off.
telling me there's a house across the street that has like the craziest
whole block.
parties, right? Oh, the whole
Oh,
party.
no, this guy across the street, yeah, he
Yeah.
throws parties, but the whole block looks like a haunted house. I mean, everybody
Really?
goes over.
They go in.
I'm the only one that doesn't.
You don't.
No, no.
Why?
Too much money.
Like,
I gotta pay for this podcasting equipment. I'm looking for sponsors. If you want to
Too
sponsor
much
Cash the Craze,
money.
man, necesito dinero, right? So
Nice.
yeah, but no, it's too much money. I do Christmas. Every year, this is gonna be our third year. So every year, little by little, I buy more Christmas decorations. So like last year, I had on the windows playing videos like Santa
nice.
Claus on the windows and different scenes.
Yeah.
And I had a Santa mailbox in front of the house, and I had like Rudolph, and I had Charlie Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I try to do as much as I can.
Yeah. See, my nephew's birthday is on the 28th of October. So every year since he was a baby, he had Halloween parties.
Ah.
They recently moved to California, and they're kind of far away from the family. So my nephew now, I mean, he's like, I think he's turning 12 or 13. And he's like, yep, no party this year. No family, no party. I'm good. He's grown, man. He's grown. But we used to have, my sister used to go in, man. They used to get dressed up. Everybody, all the kids would come in dressed up. It's fun. It was fun. It was fun. And Halloween is fun like that.
Halloween is awesome. You know, when we moved here, I said I wanted to throw a Halloween party. We never been able to do it.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you got a lot of competition, bro. Like, you got so much competition. You'd have to throw it like a week before Halloween.
Yeah. Because then you won't even be able to get onto the property. Any horror movies coming out?
Horror movies coming out. You know, it's funny how what I find that horror movies don't usually come out during Halloween. They'll come out like in the summer. Like, when did It come out? It came out like in September or August or something like that. Remember It?
Right.
I lost him. He's googling.
Hey, yeah, It the Clown.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that didn't come out.
Zombieland.
Zombieland. When does that come out?
It says in the theaters. Let's see. So tickets available now.
Well, remember this is.
Yeah, Zombieland.
Oh, it's
Double Tap. It's called Double Tap.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Yeah, I don't think that there are any.
That's a horror movie.
Any horror. What was the last like scary movie you saw? Do you watch scary? Do you like scary movies?
Un poquito. No, I'm not big into horror flicks.
No?
Because it gives me anxiety.
Oh my god!
Who wants to sit there? You're like you're tensed up, your cheeks are tensed up. You're like, and you're like, you know, it's like no. I feel like it's like going on a damn roller coaster. I prefer comedy.
Okay.
I prefer
action,
epic
drama,
fantasy, like
Oh,
a big Braveheart, Lord of the Rings,
Braveheart was awesome,
Troy, that kind of stuff. I also like fanciful stuff. I love, Fantastic Beasts, and I like.
I ain't watched that. You
Oh
watched
yeah, I love,
you like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
I love the series.
Yeah.
Harry Potter. I'm into. I love stand-up comedians.
Yeah, stand-up comedians.
Like Gary Owen and all these guys. And,
I like stand-up comedians too, man. I like stand-up comedy. That's
I prefer to laugh than be tense and
scared,
looking over my shoulder, saying who's gonna come through the window. I grew up in a neighborhood like that. I don't need that in my life.
I see.
Yeah.
You're traumatized from when you were a kid.
Traumatic.
It's a dramatic experience
it's a
living
traumatic.
in Hollis, Queens.
Hollis, Queens. Gunshots were the norm. If you didn't hear gunshot, like, hey, what's going on?
4th of July must have been crazy, right? Because you're like, is that a gunshot or is that like a firecracker? What was that?
Yes. I mean, it's.
I know.
I've been fortunate enough that growing up where I grew up, nothing like I didn't get jacked. A lot of my friends have. Because they were knuckleheads.
Because you didn't go to Tijuana. Like that was you. Like, yo, my stomach hurts. You were never in the.
No.
Always.
I walk. I peep. I see shadows. I'm like, wait, hold on. What's over there?
I see shadows.
I see you, Tyrone.
I got
Don't be coming over here. It's like
my
you can
God.
see when my friend Leo. He get off of work. It's 1 a.m. and he has to walk from 179th Street and Hillside Avenue to 186 in Jamaica. That's a long walk at 1 a.m. and he would have his headsets on, and he's bopping, and he doesn't know, you can't hear them prowling up behind you, and he got jacked. And I'm like,
you asked for it? Was that your reaction?
Yes.
To that?
I said, so to avenge him, we got in the car. We're looking for the guys. We weren't looking for the guys. That's what you do in the neighborhood I grew up in, right?
Did you find them?
You got to find for your honor. No, we couldn't find them.
Yeah.
But I was like, what were you thinking? The moment I get out that train, if it's night, everything goes in my pockets, and I'm walking. And
you're right though. Like, and that's the thing. I think like some people think they're invincible, right?
Oh.
Some people think like, it's not gonna happen to me. But you have to be careful. You heard about that couple of weeks ago. That what was it? The homeless guy that killed like 4 homeless people in Chinatown.
Yes.
Crazy, bro. Like, what the heck's going on?
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't take anything for granted. I'm always aware of what my surroundings. If you've ever hung out with me and walked through different neighborhoods, when Sam's on alert, because I tend to get quiet and I tend to pull back a little. Because I'm watching. Remember when me and Jesse were in Chicago? We went down to the downtown, and then we were going to the train station, and I slowed up, and
Chicago.
And you were like, oh, Sam's watching. Sam's watching.
Right. I do remember that.
Remember?
I remember
Yes.
that. I do remember. Yep. We did Wizard World.
Yes,
Chicago.
yes.
Right.
That's just how I do.
I hear you.
You never know. Everyone, there's always somebody that's trying to take advantage. And this is a comic show, and we're talking about getting jacked, which is crazy.
Well, it's kind of a good segue into the guest that we have coming up with a story like El Muerto, the dead guy.
Yeah.
I can't wait to talk to him about it.
How did he get dead?
And exactly what happened. Now I think there was like some kind of controversy with him and was it the Crow? Did it come around around the same time? Remember that?
I believe so.
Well, we'll ask him.
We'll ask him. He should be calling.
Any
soon.
minute.
Any minute. If you're out there. No, but I mean he's teaching. In fact, that's him right there. So let's get this.
Javier Hernandez.
Oh, look at that.
Hello there. Welcome, Javier Hernandez.
Yeah, it's the ghost from Christmas past. I'm back.
Yes. How's it going, buddy?
Very good, Sam. Boy, what a trip going back on the show after all these years. That's great.
After all these years, yes, I'm here with George the Dream of Medina, and we were just debating. I was trying to figure out how we first were introduced to each other. Was it I was on your show first, or you were on my show first?
Man, I do not remember. That's right. We did swap. Man, I forgot I did a show, too.
Yeah, because you had a radio show. You had a radio show.
Yeah, I didn't even realize you had a radio show. How you doing, Javier? It's George.
Yeah. Hey, George. Hey, man.
What's
good
up,
to have
brother?
you here.
Yeah, man. Good to have you. But so you had a radio show? That's awesome, brother.
Yeah, let's see. I had a podcast, and then I had this other show that I did through this foundation. I used to be a board member of New Wave Foundation, so they had a radio set up. Yeah, it was internet. It was internet, but it was what the hell we call it? Planet Comic Book Radio.
There you go. That's what it was.
Wow.
I think I solicited you first, and that's how I got on your show, and then I invited you onto mine.
Now, did we meet through MySpace back in the day, or was it Facebook?
Wow.
Yeah, I
It
think
might have been MySpace.
I think it was MySpace.
Wow. We are just going back in time tonight.
Yeah, it was
way back. But hey, it's cool you relaunched the whole show there, Sam, and I see you're back in the game and everything, so that's good.
Yeah. They let me out, and I was good, and I didn't cause any trouble, so they let me out, and so yeah. In fact, it was I was always contemplating coming back, and then I met up with George again, and we started talking about it, and then I just went full force. And,
good, awesome, cool.
And then I was like, you know what? There's some cats from the past that are still in the game, and I said I needed to reach out, and of course we needed to reach out to you because this is our Halloween special, and which is
cool.
airing on Halloween week, and who better than to speak to than the guy behind El Muerto himself.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
And that, and that was another. So we like to tell us about first before we get there. Tell us about you, how you got into the game. What brought you into the world of comics.
Yeah. Okay, so we're right into it.
Absolutely, that's how we do. No foreplay.
That's right. Nothing is off the record here, man.
There you go.
No, like I think, like a lot of people, as a kid. I just my older brother, actually Albert, used to collect comics, Marvel and DC. So of course, the younger brother, being the younger brother, I just start reading some of the books, and then at one point he just got out of comics. He was moving into high school, so it's like, hey, you want these? It was like a shopping bag full of comics, like you stacked them all up. So here, you can have them. So yeah, here's 8-year-old me, reading like, I don't know, 40 or 50. Vintage Marvel comics as a kid. This was probably the mid 70s. So the comics he had were like 1969, 1970, 71. So yeah, I'm reading like the end of the Jack Kirby FF Fantastic Four run. I got a good sampling of classic Daredevil, Iron Man, X-Men. Of course Batman. I remember some Neil Adams Batman comics he had.
Nice.
And so at that point, after I read those books over and over, it was time to, go to the local 7-Eleven when you can buy comics for a quarter.
Remember that.
Yeah, I'm from the Bronze Age, baby.
Wow.
Yeah, so 7-Eleven, Mom would give me $1 or $2, which was a lot of money back then, but I'd be able to get either 8 comic books or 4 comic books, a candy bar, and a Slurpee cup when they used to print the Marvel comic characters on. You probably see those classic Slurpee cups.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, man, that's going back, huh?
Oh yeah, so I buy that stuff on my bike and I'd ride to the park, the local park, and just kick back there and read some comics and drink my Slurpee. And my brother also used to draw a lot at the time. He was drawing mostly like basketball, baseball, football figures, kind of like cartoony, like really square jawed and big muscles. But then again, as a kid, I see him drawing, like, okay, I'm going to start drawing. So I started drawing what I was into. I was not a sports guy. I'm drawing the comic book characters, what I'm reading. So basically, I got started as a kid, and of course, in the mid '70s, it was like a golden age for, there's all these reruns, right? There's the Adam West Batman show is on continuous rerun. The George Reeves Superman TV show, and then the new stuff like Linda Carter Wonder Woman, and then those funky Marvel TV shows like Spider-Man and the Hulk. The Hulk is one of my favorite TV shows, actually. So yeah, as a kid, there's a full immersion, and there's all these cartoons playing all the time. And then, as I got older, moving on to, I never quit reading comics.
Right.
But as I got older, I really got serious about art. So in high school, like, oh wow, you can take actual art classes, and then moving on to college, it's like, okay, more art classes. Back in that time, this is the mid '80s. There really wasn't, outside of the, you guys know about this back east, outside of the Kubert School,
right,
there really wasn't a lot of comics being taught, like in colleges, as far as comic art that I know of. So, which is kind of good because that made me focus on the actual, life drawing, like, drawing real people, drawing, painting, composition, shading. Because I think a lot of comic people don't get that type of background.
Right.
So in a way, like I said, it's kind of good. I didn't get too much comic instruction at the time. I did it on my own. And of course, I'd come home after that, and I'd start drawing my own, characters and whatever. So, but what happens from there, though, from college, it was still kind of like, at least out here on the West Coast, it was like comics seemed like such a far away thing, though. Like, well, I can't walk up to Marvel offices, like a kid in New York could, or so I didn't really pursue it. So that, I go to college, and then I start working in a screen printing company. A friend of mine hired me to just be one of the artists there. We made a lot of decals, so I worked in the art department. But back in my head, now this is like the '90s. It's like, damn it, I want to create my own comic book characters.
Right.
I'd kind of soured on just because of the history, and I won't get into all that right now, but, working for Marvel or DC, I read enough about Jack Kirby and a lot of the other classic people being kind of screwed out of royalties or just not getting the full,
recognition for
command
their work.
of the recognition, and they can't own it because it's created for a company.
Right.
But I kind of took a lesson from that. Well, I don't want to be the 130 guy drawing Daredevil. No offense to anybody out there.
Yeah.
So by the mid '90s, late '90s, I'm thinking, okay, I want to create my own stuff. And I've been looking at the indie stuff. Of course, we all know about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh man, that's a great story. I love the story about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, man. 500 books at a convention. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, one of the great stories, because they created that comic just to make a comic. It turned out that people wanted to make toys and TV shows and movies later.
That's like the dream right there, right? You print out a comic book, you go to a comic book convention, sell enough copies, somebody sees it and says, hey, you want a cartoon? Like, that's like the dream right there.
Yeah, because you were really serious about the comic part of it. And hey, but something else comes out of it, don't turn it down.
Exactly. Yep.
So, yeah, mid '90s, I want to create my own thing. So I also at the time, it's like, well, I want to create something kind of, dealing with my cultural background, being Mexican American. Because at the time in the '90s, you didn't see a lot of that in comics. I mean, we did have the Hernandez brothers doing Love and Rockets by the I think the late '80s, late '80s. So they were a huge inspiration, and a lot of other. I started noticing a lot of across the country, a lot of other Latino creators making their own comics.
Right.
So
now this is what you said, Javier. You said this, I'm sorry to interrupt. This was in the '90s. You said, right? Like around that time.
Yeah. Now we're in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
Where I'm thinking of doing my own comics, and I'm seeing these other independent Latino creators doing the creator-owned comics. One of them, by the way, Richard Dominguez, he was doing a comic called El Gato Negro, which you guys may have heard.
El Gato
Just
Negro. I think
recently
I
got-
heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, you heard that it got picked up for a television series, I think at MGM.
No kidding. Did they? Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. Yeah, there was an announcement like 2 weeks ago in Hollywood Reporter everywhere.
Wow.
Robert Rodriguez is that's the big name that popped out.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
behind it. He's one of the, I think he's directed or something. So,
Right.
but yeah, no, I became friends with Richard years ago. Just one of the guys like, okay, you're doing it,
Mhm.
self-publishing, creating your own thing. So, but 1998, it was time for me to publish my first issue of El Muerto, which is basically, it's about this guy, 21 years old, his name's Diego de la Muerte. That should give you an idea what's going to happen to the guy later, right? Diego of the Dead.
Diego de la Muerte.
What's the chance of that guy becoming an Aztec Zombie? But on his 21st birthday, he's on his way to a Day of the Dead festival. On his way down there, he gets killed in a car accident, and he wakes up. He wakes up in the Aztec land of the dead, Mictlan, and he's eventually sacrificed and resurrected by the Aztec god of death, sent back to Earth a year later. Now he's kind of this cursed hero, which again, coming from the 70s comics that I was a fan of,
Right.
that whole thing of the cursed hero, like, more like the monster characters, Werewolf by Night, Morbius, the Living Vampire, even the Incredible
Right.
Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Yeah,
True.
like
Yep.
yeah. I love haunted or cursed heroes
Right.
because they're dealing with, they're good, but they have these not so much bad thing about them, but this thing they can't control, or in Diego's case, he's this undead, it's basically like a zombie,
Right.
and he has this unique power to resurrect the dead.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
So instead of taking souls, he actually can bring one back to
Brings
life,
them back.
which is not when you think about it, it's like the moral dilemma. It's not the great thing. That's to get that heavy burden, right?
Right.
Like, imagine like someone runs up to you, hey, my abuelita just died, can you bring her back? And then
Right.
somebody else runs up to you, hey, and that's not a responsibility I think any of us would want.
No, you're right.
So,
So let me ask you a question then, Javier. So
Yeah,
Diego
yeah.
de la Muerte, right? He's El Muerto. He has this power to resurrect people. Is there a limit to how many people he can resurrect, or is it like something where he just decides who he will and won't? Like you said, the dilemma that he comes across.
That's a good question. So we don't have like the spawn meter where his power is like,
Right.
98%, 50%. I don't know whether there's a limit yet, or I
Right.
should say we have not seen a limit yet.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna write that down. Steal George's idea. What's the limit? Yeah. Very terrible, right? There's this busload of high school kids crashes, and he goes and resurrects everybody but one or two.
Yeah, right. That'd
Hey,
be
sorry,
man.
I only got-
Quota.
Quota, baby. I'm down to zero.
That's
Wow,
awesome.
that's really bad.
That's terrible. terrible, Javier.
Terrible.
I'm sorry. Carry on. I apologize. I interrupted.
No. It's not interrupting. You're doing the interview. So let me ask questions. But 98 was when it started, and now it's been actually 20. It's funny. It's 21 years now that I've been
Jeez,
doing
dude.
it, which is the actual age of the character.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I know it's kind of a weird serendipity, but yeah, last year, I did a big, you got to hype it up. I self-published. I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I had a whole logo and everything. I branded the whole year. It was like the 20th anniversary of El Muerto. So
Man, that's
did a lot of
amazing.
signings, and
Yeah.
I had a logo, and I put it on most of the merchandise. And yeah, now I'm on the next 20 years, right? So
Next
we'll
20
see
years.
how far we go.
So El Muerto came out in 98. So and
Yes,
again,
sir.
and you said your influence was the fact that, you were like, you know what? Let me represent somebody who, and you tied it to your culture and your background. Now, how, like, tell me about the different I guess the different versions of it, because it's been a comic book, it was a movie, right? I think Wilbur Valderrama was involved in a movie that came out about it also, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, the film. So the comic was 98. So the movie we filmed an independent film in 2005. What happened was I did an interview in, I guess, 2001 with NPR. Actually, they're kind of ahead of their time because the reporter was specifically, he wanted to come out to San Diego Comic Con,
Right.
and he was like, yeah, I'm looking for Latino comic readers. So even way back then, like
Yeah.
someone was kind of focusing on that, which is
Right.
kind of interesting because now it's a much bigger thing, right? There's hashtags, right?
Sure.
Latinx create,
Yeah.
whatever. So yeah, he came down to Comic Con. I'm sure he interviewed about other people, but he came to my table. It was like a little 10-minute interview. He sat down with the microphone, did the questions, and then he left. And then you figure, as a publisher, like, okay, good, I did an interview, never turned him down if you can do it.
Right.
And nothing's gonna come out of it. I mean, I didn't mean that a bad way, but it'll get the word out.
Yeah, of course.
I certainly wasn't thinking what happened when I got an actual. Back in the day when they actually got letters, I got a letter in my PO box.
Right.
And it was a production company was the address I could see on the corner there. I'm like, well, that's interesting. I opened it up, and it's like, hi, Javier, I'm so-and-so's assistant. Here's your interview. He liked what he heard. He'd like to get some of the comics, and we can't find it here in the local shops in L.A. So I told him, I wrote him back, wrote this. Like, well, you can order direct from me. I think I had like 2 different issues at the time, and they sent me. Man, honestly, they sent me. I think it was. I think the check was for like $7 because I just told them what the 2 issues cost.
Oh,
and
right.
The postage.
So they send you the check for the 2 issues.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, a little $7 there.
There you go.
But what I liked about that was not the money, because $7 that'll better get me a McDonald's McRib meal, but
right.
But they didn't do the typical thing like, well, it's typical from what I heard, like, hey, can we have some of the copies? We're a studio, want to check it out.
Right.
Like, dude, you're a studio, you can afford $7.
Right. Yeah, these people actually paid you for it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, they offered, they asked right up front, and then they did it. So right away, I felt like, okay, I felt good about this so far. So long process, of course, and then I get another letter back. And, yeah, Brian Cox, who's the future director. The guy thought, yeah, Brian liked the book, but he's got to travel to South Africa for a film. We'll be back. So, months later, get another message. Hey, Brian would like to meet you on, I think it was like September. Get this, September like 13th or something, 14th, 2001. So meet me, at his office in Hollywood. But then, of course, 9/11 happened, and on the 11th.
Yeah.
And I didn't know anybody in New York, but it felt horrible. Everybody's in the country, and
of course.
I remember I wrote the assistant, hey, can we put the meeting off for a few weeks? Like, man, I just don't. It's not in me right now to talk about comics or movies. They, oh no, we totally understand. So he put that off for a few weeks. But eventually, I went to meet the director at his office, sat down, we talked for about an hour. Very pleasant. He had questions about the storyline, and some of the questions I couldn't even answer. Like, you know what, Brian? I don't even know yet for sure where that's going, because honestly, I'm still making this up as I go along.
Right.
And I think he appreciated the honesty. Because, I guess everyone's like the typical Hollywood, wannabe screenwriter. I'd have all kinds of BS answers.
Right. You were like straight up, like, listen, dude, I don't know. It's been 3 years since I created the character. I have no idea.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten that second part yet. We never into that.
Right.
And then he goes, so at the end of the hour, he basically stood up and goes, well, look, okay, obviously, I called you in here because, I think this is good material for a film, and I wonder if you'd be interested in turning it into a movie. And then I always remember exactly what I said, because I don't even know if it's proper grammar. I go, well, I wouldn't not be interested. So, he said he'll call me back, and he went home, and eventually I got a message from him. He couldn't convince his production manager on the idea, but Brian, he couldn't convince, because he can't raise the money, the director. Right. But he goes, well, hang on, let me try another man. And then he got a hold of a guy he worked with, a producer, Larry Ratner, and so he must have told Larry about it. And then Larry contacted me. Hey, I heard about your comic. Brian, like to make this. Seems a good idea. And I'm a producer, and you want to talk? So again, months and months and months go on, and then get a lawyer, and then they offer you the first contract, and of course you always bounce it back.
Right. And
then they bounce it back, and you bounce it, edit this, and eventually you hammer out a deal. And that's what I always tell people: don't ever proceed without a lawyer.
Right.
Because no matter how simple the contract may look, there's a bunch of legalese that none of us understand. So
yeah, absolutely.
Do not proceed, people. Believe me, it happens all the time still. So So 2001, Brian contacted me. So by 2003, I remember going to Larry's office on Wilshire Boulevard there by the one of the LA museums that's got the La Brea tar pit next to it. Mm-hmm. And I remember signing the contract and walking out like, okay, wow, I got a Hollywood deal.
That's amazing, dude. Like, just the thought of that. Like, so what were you thinking when you walked out? You're like, I got this deal. Like, were you excited? Were you like in disbelief?
Yeah, the disbelief in a way, only because it's like, man, this is like the original comic was just black and white, right. Like even the covers. Mm-hmm. I photocopied it at a copy place, right? And so that's like, so that's a good story for anybody. Like, right? It has to be a good idea, I think. Not so much it has to be a holographic cover
flashy.
With the best coloring.
Yeah, it's not about the flash. It's about the actual what the story's about, right? Like, so yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's the lesson I got from that.
Yeah,
and I repeat that. Not to brag, but for everyone listening to your show, you know, those people slaving away, that young woman, you know, working on her comic because you can't afford to do a color print. Like, hey, if it's a good idea and you want to get the story out, get it out. Right. You know, get it out now, and then maybe you sell more, you raise more money, you can do color it, whatever. But so yeah, 2003 we signed the contract. By 2005. I'm walking on the set in I live in LA out here. I walk on the set of the San Fernando Mission on the first day of filming, and it's like, damn, this is surreal. Like, I noticed this over the years. So as I'm driving on the freeway, because they give me here's the address how to get here. As you start getting off the off ramps, you start seeing these little paper signs, and I've seen them before. I never knew what they meant. So in my case, it was a paper sign. And it just had the two letters E-M, right? El Muerto. So they put that there so people from the production, okay, this is South America.
Gotcha.
And I've seen it before, like, like I see like initials or like a word, like, what the hell does that mean? It was probably a production company.
Gotcha. So
this was before, cell phones with Google Map and all that.
Right. Yeah, where you actually had like paper maps.
Yeah, it's really funny. And I'm driving, and I drive down the street, and I see the EM with a little arrow pointing up, like straight on there. And then I turn the corner, and there's the San Fernando Mission. And like, oh, shoot, it's real, right? It's really happening. Like, you see the big movie trucks and, like, the trailers and everything. And it was really cool. So I get there at park. I just walk up to everybody, and they're already there. And this is the first day of filming. So the assistant director, she goes, okay, everybody, can I have everybody's attention? So they formed a huge circle, and they were just having a powwow, right? Okay, guys, here we are doing 4 weeks shooting of our film. This is our first location, blah, 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 blah. Right. And she goes, oh, yes, also, let's take a moment. We got to let's all thank the person. If it wasn't for them coming up with this idea, we wouldn't be here working. So then she acknowledged me, and they all turned around and clapped, and it was like, wow, that's
great, dude.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
That's called respect, man. RESPECT.
Find out what it means to me.
Yeah. If I didn't spell it right, Sam, fix it and post it. I just blurted it out, man. I hope that's right.
All right, I got you.
You're good. You're good.
The backup chorus.
I learned about movies. You can always edit it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So people ask, what's it like making a movie? Shoot, man. It's your movie. It's like being at a film school, right. But they picked your project they picked your idea as the project. So,
yeah, right.
I mean, it's a trip. I mean, honestly, like, everything that's happening there is only because you were sitting up in your room or kitchen table for months, endless months and months, working on your little comic, right?
Right.
And now it's translated into this film production that, 100 people, whatever, have to work on every day and night to get done.
How long was the production for? How long did they shoot for?
Yeah, this is a trip. So it shot for 4 weeks. Wow. Quick independent film, man.
Yeah, 4 weeks.
2 weeks of pre-production. So I worked at the office. That's one thing I told I mentioned that the contract's going back and forth initially, and I told my lawyer, I go, hey, I want to work on, I'm going to get paid for the rights, right? Well, I want to work on the film. Like, I want to be on the set every day. Luckily, I live here. I live here in LA, so I can do that because
you have to fly in back and forth. Yeah,
they probably wouldn't want that expense, but I don't know. I'll drive to the set every day. I want to work on the film and get paid a weekly salary, separate from what I got paid for the rights.
Brilliant.
And Yeah, no. I tell people that, so they should try to get that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got a weekly paycheck.
That's freaking
And
awesome.
so then people say, what do you do when you work on a film? When you create, it's not like you're walking around laying cable or anything. It's you just show up, and then you stand in line with everybody else and get the breakfast from the catering truck. And in my case, basically, you just walk around all day on the set while everybody's working.
Right.
I mean, that wasn't much for me to do because, the director wrote the script, so they're going off of that.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you who wrote the script. So the director wrote the script. Did you have any input in the writing of the script?
So what he did was, Brian would, every time he'd write a draft, and every script goes through whatever, 5, 6, 7, 10 drafts.
Yeah.
He'd write a draft, and he'd send it to me and the producer and the executive producers. By the way, the executive producer, people know how this works, independent-wise. So Larry, the producer, okay, he'll put the film together, but he needs money for a film, right? Producer doesn't necessarily have the money himself.
Right.
So he had met these 3 guys. It was a father and 2 sons, the Leones, actually. And they were involved in different businesses like music publishing and I think book publishing and like textbooks. So, but they had met Larry somehow years before or whatever, and they told him, "Hey, you're a producer, right? Yeah. Well, we'd like to make a movie one day. We think that's a neat thing to do, right? We got money." So Larry's okay. I'll keep you guys on, put the guys on hold. Let me find out when I get a project. So when Larry is told from Brian, "Hey, El Muerto, I want to make this comic," Larry figures, okay, well, this will be the project I bring in the producers, these new producers. So he tells the guys, "Hey, there's this comic, Day of the Dead, Latino theme, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
independent comic. We'd like to make this film. We need money for it." So, okay, we'll back it. So right off the top, I was lucky, and I've been told that by other people, that there was a producer, he had at least the offer of having the money available. So,
right, yeah.
So I always knew in my head, my heart, that we were going to do this, even though you should never, even when you sign a deal, and I've seen this before, like you shouldn't maybe necessarily assume it's going to happen because they buy the rights from you, and then a year later, they go, "Well, we're not going to renew the rights because we haven't put a deal together, so let's forget about it."
Yeah, there's a lot of red tape that goes on in between the time when you signed it, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like a news item is great, but then the final, the reality. But in my case, because I had met the executive producers, the Leones, especially the father, Bruno. This is a great part because you're being courted. You're like the girl at the ball, right?
Yeah.
The girl at the dance. "Hey, Javier, let's go to dinner. Hey, Javier, let's go to lunch." "Oh, okay."
Right.
guys
Yeah,
are
they were whining and dining you, Javier.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so then sometimes one of the financiers would come aboard. So, I for me, like, okay, I've met these people, and so I know they're real.
Yeah.
And, Larry says they're going to put up the money. So I always kind of knew this was going to happen. I just felt, I didn't think it wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And it happened, obviously. 2 years later, we started filming it. And I think you asked me a question. I think I got off on a tangent.
No, well, I was going to ask you who played the role of El Muerto.
Oh yeah. No, you actually asked me about the script. So Brian wrote the script, but then what he'd do is every time he did a draft, he would send it to me, the producer, and the executive producers, and then just to chime in. So of course I would always have very certain concerns as the creator.
Mm-hmm.
So I would always write an email. "Hey, Brian, I think this or this, blah, 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 blah," and then you think about it and take it into consideration. And sometimes he would adapt it, or sometimes, he would give me a counterpoint, which is fine.
Right.
Because it's a different medium. One thing I always went in thinking in the beginning, like, okay, look, I love different versions of the Batman comic, and I realize there's other versions there's that Adam West show, which I love to death.
Right.
And then there's like the Tim Burton films at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, Frank Miller's type. So I always went in knowing, okay, there's always different versions, and the character changes from one medium to another, from one artist to another. So I was always like open to that. It wasn't going to be 100% perfect adaptation or literal adaptation.
Yeah.
So, I was pretty happy with everything, the way everything came out. And, eventually, were figuring out who's going to play El Muerto.
Right.
And at the time, I was a huge fan of. Well, having told you I grew up in the '70s, I was a huge fan of that '70s show.
Yeah.
I used to love watching like the wallpaper in the background. Yeah, we had that ugly wallpaper, the yellow flowers.
Oh.
My dad didn't call me a dumbass like Red did on the show, but so I told him, hey, what about one with Valderrama? It's like the fourth season. Like he's really hot right now.
Right.
That show's hot, and thankfully Hollywood, you had very few young Latino actors to pick from.
That's right.
You dumbasses.
That's right. They didn't have, and they probably still don't. I don't think they still don't have a lot of Latino.
No, exactly. No, that's what pisses me off. 20 years later, whatever.
Still, dude.
Still, how many can we pick?
Right.
So they ended up approaching him, and I was shocked when they got back. Yeah, he's interested. I go, oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah. So it made sense for him, right? Because he's playing this character Fed,
right?
And he gets a chance to play this. Okay, let me play something that's very different that says, this supernatural superhero. So
right, yeah. So it was a way for him also to kind of like expand his horizons and show his range, I guess, in a way, right?
Yeah, it's kind of cool, right? Something you create and then becomes something for somebody else to kind of like stretch a bit and kind of get some new little take himself to a new space.
Yeah, and the other thing is like it wasn't even like he was like you said, he was hot at the time, so it wasn't even like they got like an unknown. Like he was known, which was very
he was
cool.
known on this TV show,
Absolutely, dude.
So he'd be working on the TV show, and then he'd work on our film.
Amazing.
Either on his days off or on the same day, like before he goes on the film. It's like, man, what a grueling schedule.
Right.
But he was great. There was this one time on the set. I remember the first time. He filmed the scene like he was wearing like some clothes, but then he was going to do a costume change into the suit. And then when he walks, he comes out of the trailer like, oh my god, he was wearing the black mariachi El Muerto costume with the skull on the back, and he's got the white face and the black contact lenses to make his eyes all black. Like, wow, there's my character right there. That's pretty trippy.
Yeah, no, I know, right? Right in the flesh. Like something that you sat down and was drawing is in the flesh now. And it's not like somebody who's just pretending to be him. This is the guy that's playing him in the movie about your book. Like that must have been insane.
No, exactly. No, you're right. You're right. It's not like a cosplay or something.
Right. Yeah.
He was great though. I mean, so one time it was his birthday. No, maybe it was a different time. I'm trying to think. I forgot what it was, but I went to his trailer for something, and he was in the makeup chair getting his makeup put on. And I walked in there to tell him something. Oh yeah, da da da. And then okay, and I was leaving. I'm leaving his trailer, right? And as I get to the door, he's all, "Hey Javier," and I stop by trailer. Yeah, what's up, Will? Everybody calls him Will.
Damn, that's.
And he goes, so. I know my buddy Will here.
Yeah, I know, like my boy. Yeah, I just call him Will. We call him. His friends call him Will.
We call him Will. You guys call him Will. No, I go, yeah, what's up, Will? He's like, so you happy the way I'm playing the character? Do you like it?
Wow.
And I go, oh yeah, man. I think it's great what you're doing with it, man. So okay, cool. Man, I walked out with the trade. I could have floated walking out, like not even
right. He's asking for your approval on your character. That's freaking insane.
Yeah, because you said you doesn't have to.
Right.
Hey, I'm doing the role. He goes, hey, dude, how do you like? So I thought that was, again, kind of goes back to what I told him, respect.
Yeah.
RESPECT, right, Sam?
Find out what it means to me.
I'm going to do that jingle throughout the show, guys.
It's going to be the title of the show. Javier Hernandez gets RESPCT.
Órale, go for it, man.
That's right.
Cool. So yeah, it was one of the best times I've ever had working on this. I mean, of course you're going to say that, and it should be a good time.
Yeah.
But really, I had such a great time because I did have that respect. I had that great connection with the director. I would consider him a friend, and I'm sure I think he would feel the same. Which was, I don't normally just try to, most of the other relationships were, hey, we're working together on a project. It's great. See, but Brian, we still communicate all these years later.
Wow.
So he got my trust in the beginning in that first conversation.
Right.
And it turned out to be, mutual throughout the whole time, and I can't get into all the details. But
and I think part of the respect is the fact that you didn't BS him. You could have easily said, "Oh yeah," and answered every single question and been totally fake about it. But you decided to say, "You know what? I don't have all the answers. I'm still working on it." And I think that might have made the difference between him saying, "You know what? I want to do this with you," than saying, "Hey, here's another guy who just wants to get paid. Never mind. Let me go check something else." You know?
And him working in the business, maybe that's what else gets, right? Those type of answers like that.
Right.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, I got the answers.
Yeah.
In fact, when he even told me he was interested in doing this as a thing, he just sent me some paperwork. I even told him, I go, I don't even have a lawyer right now, Brian, to be honest with you. So I'll have to find one. Entertainment, I don't have one.
Right.
And so, yeah, again, I was just honest, and it didn't kill the deal.
Right.
And like I said, if anything, who knows? But maybe okay, this guy's very upfront with you. So it was a great 4 weeks. I mean, it was very fast when you think about it.
Yeah,
I remember Brian told me, the director, early on, one evening at his office before we started filming, he's all, because he knew I was going to work on the film. He's like, once we start working on the film, it's like you're in a bubble. You're going to be in this thing for 4 weeks in our case, and you're going to kind of not lose track of the outside world, but he's like, you'll see. And I'm thinking, okay, whatever. No, it isn't. But really, because they're like 12-hour days minimum,
right?
Maybe sometimes 14 or 16, jeez, and then you got to drive home another hour.
Right.
So basically, you don't exist in the daylight that day outside of the movie, because you get home, it's already evening. Yeah. There's no time to do much. Just check email, go to sleep, wake up the next morning, get down to the set, wherever it's, on location. And we filmed for 5 days or 4 days. I forgot how it went. We had 2 days off, but then one of those days I had to go to the office, the production office, and just kind of sit around. And again, there wasn't much to do, but because I am being on the payroll, I had to go to the office.
You had to go.
So basically, I had one day off.
Right.
So the 1 day off, you wake up kind of late, like, oh man, I got to sleep in, and then like, okay, I got a few hours. I got to go to the post office. Back when you had to do a lot of post office mail. Go to the post office, the bank, laundry, and then it's almost evening.
Right.
And your day, you didn't get to do much, honestly. And then you wake, and then the next day you work again another 6 days in a row. So jeez. I know what he means by then. Once the film is done, and then you wake up the next day after the 4 weeks, and like, okay, I woke up, and then I'll have the next 7 days to myself. And it's like, wow. So it really was a bubble.
So how was it? How was it going back to your regular life after that? Like, do you even want to go back? Don't you feel like making another movie? Like, how was that the day at like that last day?
No, of course, right? Because you're having this, it's almost like a birthday party every day. Right. Okay, in my particular case, I was working I left my job. I told you guys I was a screen printer. I eventually became the art director at this one company, and then I left. And then I started working I worked at a comic shop for a while, which is great, because I think I've worked in every position in the comic industry now, which even a comic shop. And then I started working at another screen printer, but I just wanted to be an artist. I didn't want to be in charge anymore because that was too high stressful. So I had already had the movie deals, the contract. But we were filming, we didn't film for 2 years. So when I was applying for this job, I told the guy, Dan, I go, hey, look, so I can work here full time. I'm a good artist. I can do all the work. I go, I do have this outstanding thing where I have a film deal where at one point I'm going to have to work there for 6 weeks.
Right.
So I will have to let you know that I'll have to take a 6-week leave of absence from the day job.
How did he take that?
It worked. Yeah. No. I was very lucky because the way I got that job, a friend of mine recommended to me, and that friend worked for this guy. So I told him, look, his name's Will. I go, look, Dan, when I leave for 6 weeks, Will can come and cover for me. And he knew Will, right? So, okay, he's going to get someone he knows already. Okay. And so basically, yeah. And then at one time, I had to tell Dan, the boss, hey, we're going to start filming in February of 2005 for 6 weeks. So I got to take my leave. He's okay, that's fine. I agreed to that. Right. So I had to answer Sam's question. I had to go back to work. I think I had a day or two off, and it was really kind of sucked. I had to go back and sit at the computer and do the stuff. But at the same time, and then you kind of just get back into it because you want to put it out of your head. Because look, they got to work on post production.
That's what I was going to
And
ask you
because it
next.
wasn't-
Yeah, how long does that take, that post-production time?
Well, in our case, because of different circumstances and financial, it took 2 years. Normally doesn't take that long.
Right.
But again, this is a small independent film,
Yeah.
and some people were working on the side. So I just got back to my it wasn't a big enough film deal where I could retire.
Right.
It was an independent film, but
Yeah.
I saw a chunk of money, and now okay, I need a job because I got the insurance and everything. It was important back then. And then so I'm working every day, and then eventually contacting the producer every now and then with updates, giving me updates. And 2005 we filmed it. So by 2006 in the fall we started doing some screenings in LA, and of course we had the premiere of the movie officially in March of 2007 at the San Diego Latino Film Festival. That was great because it was one of the films playing. There was like maybe 12 movies playing.
Right.
And I remember the night I got there down in San Diego, there was like a line of people who paid to see the movie, right? Because it's like, okay, you got to pay to see the film.
Yeah.
I remember taking a picture like, wow, this is the first paying audience ever to see El Muerto.
That's amazing.
And yeah, that was great. We had a Q&A there. One of the actors showed up, Tuli Plana. And so I went to different film festivals, smaller ones in LA, San Francisco. I know that film played once in New York, which I didn't go to that, and once in, I think, Toronto. Believe it or not, there was like a Toronto Latino film festival.
Oh, wow.
Like,
did you go to that or
there was
not?
Latinos up in Toronto. No, because budget-wise, like,
okay.
I went to the local ones, but there wasn't really budget to be flying us out there, unless they went on their own. It did. So I'll say this: it did play at cons. Now the secret is, we can cut this part out. No, just kidding. Like we think of cons, you think of they have the big screenings, right? The huge palaces, the casino. But there's dozens of other little screenings going on in the hotel rooms because people are showing the film for distributors.
All right.
And it could literally, I didn't go, but it could literally be in the hotel room, right? So there might be like, I don't know, set up the chairs, whatever, and they show the film, even a rough cut. So they didn't show it there because I know we got 2 international distributors. We got a Polish distributor and an Australian.
Wow.
I actually have the DVDs, the Polish DVD and the Australian DVD.
So the film went out to Poland and Australia, huh?
Yeah.
That's
it did.
Great,
and but it played at Cannes, so that's a nice little feather in your cap.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. So what happened after the film? So did you continue doing the book, or is the book you're still working on it, right?
Yeah. So this is 2007. The DVD comes out, and of course I'm promoting that, and I'm still working. Yeah, and I'm still working on. I was doing a lot of new comics too. I've done other characters.
Right.
At that time, 2008 onwards, besides El Muerto, did the Man Swamp, the Coma, Dead Dinosaurio, blah blah blah, and did a few more El Muerto comics, and then like 2 years ago, I decided I wanted to collect the original comics, the El Muerto comics, in a book, but I was not happy with the art because, it's like 20 years before, and you're a better writer, artist.
Right.
You're always a better artist, writer today than you were 10 years ago and 10 years before that.
Right.
So I redrew the first 3 issues, and then I did the new ending. So that's that graphic novel I have out called Days of the Dead, which is basically, it's like a retelling of the original stories.
Because
with the new
that was the original, right? It was like Days of the Dead, the numero uno edition or something like that. Isn't that what you originally had?
Oh yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good for you on the research there.
Yeah. So
that was the black and white comic that the director.
That's what he saw.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what got you to do. That's amazing, dude. It was black and white Xerox. You just stapled it together, and that got you the deal. That's great.
Yeah. So I was in about, I think, 350 copies of that. So they're out there, very rare. I myself only have about 5 or 6 left. So I sold one to a museum in Chicago like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And after I sold that, I said, okay, the next one's going to cost, $500.
Of
and
course.
Then after I sell that,
absolutely,
it'll be $1,000.
That's right.
I got to keep at least 1 or 2 for myself. But
you have to. Now the book that you Days of the Dead, that's a graphic novel that you're selling.
Yeah,
Where,
yeah.
where can we get it?
The whole graphic novel. Well, luckily you can get it on Amazon. Look up Javier Hernandez El Muerto Days of the Dead. They can get it on my website, or my web shop. I'll give that info out
Yeah, definitely.
before the show's over.
Yeah.
But yeah, Amazon, people love buying off Amazon, so they can always order it there.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And get it with 2-day shipping if they have Amazon Prime.
Dude, I'm getting that in 2 days shipping. I'm ordering that tonight. No, good stuff.
All right, there
brother.
you go.
Yeah, no, I'm
have it in time for Dia de los Muertos.
There you go. So that's amazing. I love the story of how you came up with it, and even the fact that you actually had a good experience with the production of the movie, because there's been some, like, I've heard horror stories of people being very upset about the fact that their book was changed so much. Like, they gave the the producer whatever one thing, and then all of a sudden what's on the screen is something completely different, and the creator's unhappy. You actually had a really good experience, and that's great, man.
Yeah, no, it's good to underscore that, because I'm very sincere when I say it was a great experience. People say, well, it's not the exact story of the comic. No, and I'm that's fine. It's still El Muerto with the same origin story.
Right.
It's about this guy. You see in the movie, you see the car crash, and you see he wakes up in the land of the dead, and you see the Aztec god of death and the other god of destiny, Tezcatlipocan.
Right.
You see the heart get ripped out. That's all. Like, I don't want to see that heart ripped out of the guy.
Right.
And he's sent back to Earth a year later, where all his friends think he's dead, and then he's got to, figure out what the hell is wrong with him, and
so
how he's going to survive this. So
at any point, did the director or did the producer or anybody want to change that, and you were like, no, we got to keep that? Was there anything that you said, no, that's got to stay?
Oh no, not
okay.
no. When I read the script, no, that he got that origin sequence exact.
Wow. That's
or
great.
As close as you could do it for a live adaptation.
That's great.
Yeah, no, that never changed.
Oh, okay.
In fact, one of the lines from the comic. So Diego comes back to Earth a year later, right? So he's in the mariachi suit, and his face is now permanently turned white with the skeleton markings on it. So he figures, oh, well, shoot, man, I can't walk around like this. I got to go to the store and I got to buy some makeup to cover the face, and I got to buy some clothes to walk around in.
Right.
And he goes to the cash register. This is from the original comic, and he's like a Walmart. He's buying the stuff, the makeup and the clothes, and the cashier says something like, "Oh, I know what you're supposed to be. You're the Nightmare Before Christmas, right? My son loves that movie."
Oh wow!
So in the movie, that line every time it played it when I went to go a screening, and so it's a little old lady. He's in a little market in East LA buying some clothes and makeup, and the little lady looks at him, and she goes, "Nightmare Before Christmas," and that always gets a laugh.
That's great. Yeah, and it's in the original book. That's awesome, dude. Did you?
Yeah, like even if people don't know the book, that line, because everybody knows Jack. Like, okay, she looks like Jack Skellington.
Of course. Now, what was the critics' response to the movie? How did they feel about it?
The movie, all over the map. I mean, some people hated it, some people loved it, some people said it was just like the comic.
Right.
Some people said it was a Crow ripoff.
Right. Oh yeah, because the Crow had come out in '94 or something like that.
Yeah, and I love the Crow, and yeah, it's a guy, a black and white guy, right? White face like that comes back from the dead. But it's like, okay, yeah, but he looks like Jack Skellington too, right? I mean, and they're all different. The Crow is this R-rated tale of vengeance, which is a great story.
Right. Tale
of vengeance, and Jack Skellington is this fun, kind of macabre Christmas story, and El Muerto is this supernatural superhero.
So there's room for there's room for everybody in that genre. Were you influenced by the Crow at all, though, when you thought up the character, or no?
Well, I love the film. I remember seeing the Brandon Lee movie. I'm sure it popped a little bit in my head, but if you want to dig deep on the influences, so when I was trying to come up with a comic character in the mid '90s, like I told you, I left this part out. I'd come up with this idea of like a kind of like a Mexican Justice League, right? There was like 5 characters. There was like 4 or 5 characters I was drawing, and one was like a luchador, right? A masked wrestler. One was like an Aztec star god. I think one was kind of like a Zorro type guy, kind of like a caballero, a masked caballero.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then there was this Muerto guy, right? And then the more I thought about it, I go, man, this is my first comic I'm ever going to do. I don't want to do a team book because that's a lot of characters like to always be drawing.
Right.
That's,
That's true.
and then you got to figure.
Good point.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be very practical.
Very
and also,
smart. Yeah.
If they're probably going to have a team of supervillains, right?
Right.
That they got to fight. So now you double what you got to draw, and then you figure each character has a secret identity, so each character's got like a supporting cast.
Now it's a whole big to do. You're like, nah, let's just narrow this thing down to one guy.
It's like I'll leave it to the master, George Perez, and those guys to do the great team book. So I go, let me pick one of these. It's kind of fun. Like you created them, but you can pick one. Like, okay, something about this guy here, the dead guy. I don't know his name at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to go with that because I think I love the dichotomy. He's alive, he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally black and white, like his costume. I think I can get a lot of story out of that, where it's not just a superhero fighting guys all the time.
Right.
But drama. I was a big fan of the Spider-Man comic, especially the Ditko, Stan Lee stuff. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that angst of Peter Parker. Always reminded me of Latino, right? He's always broke. The police hated him. The media hated him.
Wow.
He always had to take care of his poor little tia, right?
That's messed up.
And the tia's always worried about. You guys can relate. You guys know what I'm talking exactly.
So what you're saying is his name should have been Pedro.
Right. So I want to have a character like that, and kind of like a young guy, kind of like in between, getting out of his childhood, teenage years into manhood,
right,
and having these like family, I don't say problems, but issues, or just family, life issues,
day to day things, day
to day of the dead.
There you go.
I gave him an ex-girlfriend, so when the story starts, he actually had. It's not a girlfriend like most comics, right? He has an ex-girlfriend, and so there's that possibility. Like, I made it an ex because, like, well, is they gonna get back together? But they can't get back together now, right?
Right.
What's that old 1950s song? My boyfriend's back. My boyfriend's back.
Right. So you didn't do the typical love interest where he's trying to get the girl. He already had the girl. The girl's gone. Maybe he'll get her back.
Yeah. Again. Like I don't give my character enough problems coming back as a zombie. There's that whole lingering girlfriend thing.
Right.
It's kind of like I love my Mexican telenovelas, right? You got to have that real high romance drama.
That's right. The drama, the romance drama.
Drama, man. So that kind of some of that went into Muerto. I love the I mentioned that before Christmas. I love that Tim Burton aesthetic, that in that Addams Family aesthetic, where it's like not like dark, evil, satanic horror, but like that macabre, kind of whimsical. Which when you think about Day of the Dead, again, let's get back to the original idea, Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead, it's not the Mexican Halloween, which I've heard people say pisses me off.
Yeah.
Look at the artwork. Look at the skeletons. They're not scary. They're not evil looking. They're almost whimsical.
Yeah.
And kind of friendly, but it's welcoming. It's Day of the Dead, so people they don't know about it or they think they know about it. It's go watch Coco, but it's about remembering your loved ones who passed on.
Right.
And it's trying to show us that the death is just another part of life. It's like a cycle, right?
Right.
It's not like we look at it in the Western European, like, oh, death is evil, right? The creepy dead and the zombies and the evil zombies. And I love those type of horror movies. Don't get me wrong, right? The dripping dead with blood and everything, and the blood's crawling up.
The gore.
I went for that that very uniquely Mexican point of view of death, which kind of crosses over with that Tim Burton style, or if you listen to Oingo Boingo, the old Oingo Boingo song, the Addams Family, where it's meant to be again kind of fun and freaky and tongue in cheek, but also kind of spooky and spooky. That's my aesthetic. When people say it's like, oh, it's a rip off of the Crow, it's like, well, you're only looking at the surface. The guy with the white face and the black suit, like, come on, man.
Right. You gotta look deeper.
A little deeper, yeah. And by the time Coco came out 2 years ago, which I thought was an excellent.
Yeah, I saw that. That was really good. Really, and it's really good depiction of what you're talking about as far as El Dia de los Muertos. Like, it's a very good explanation as to what it is and what it's all about. So that was a really good film.
No, I'm glad for that part. That okay, it's going to entertain people. It's going to educate so many people. Like, oh yeah, it's about remembering. The dead ones come back at least, in spirit,
Right.
and at least in they're welcoming them back that day with food. Put the food out that they love.
Right.
So you're not afraid of death.
No.
You miss your loved ones.
Right.
You know,
And
it's not the
that's how you
Mexican
bring
home.
them back. That's how you bring them back, by remembering them. And I think that's what that movie was about. You bring them back by remembering. The minute you forget about them, that's when they completely die. But every year you remember them, and that's how you bring them back to life, because you're remembering them. So yeah.
Exactly. Otherwise, they're living that second death.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no. So Coco was great, but I do tell people, like, when they walk by my table, and they're like, they look at the stuff and they're like, oh, like that movie Coco. But yeah, that movie Coco.
There you go.
Cool. But my original comic came out in '98.
Right.
Check out the copy.
That's right. That's right. So wait, so are
Back
you?
in '98.
Go ahead.
I
Back
was
in
going to say,
98.
back in '98, there was not in comics. I still, I'm not an expert, so if you can find one, find it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of too many times, or if ever Day of the Dead was shown in comics, especially making a hero
Right.
around that whole idea.
No,
So,
I think yours was like
Aztec mythology.
yeah. No, yours was one like the first of its kind. I think, especially in that time period, and even if you think about it, other than like you said, like Coco and things like that, even today, like, you know what I mean, like it's still original. It's an original concept to me.
Yeah. And we had A Book of Life before that.
The Book of Life
Coco by Jorge Gutierrez, and that was a great one.
That's right. That's right. Now
It's funny now, man. I'm sure you guys the lottery out in West East Coast. Out here in LA, we got the lottery, and they have Day of the Dead scratchers. They have
wow.
You go to Target and Walmart. They got Day of the Dead. Ornaments, whatever.
Right.
Supplies at around October or November 2nd.
Yeah.
So it's pretty mainstream now.
No, it is. I mean, especially in the West Coast, because there's so much Mexican heritage out there. I feel like there's a lot of that still out there, so it's very prominent. It's very prominent there. Here, not so much here in the East Coast, but definitely in the West Coast for sure.
No, that's really interesting. I assumed it was all over the whole country.
Okay. It's really like it really depends. Like here in New York, it's like neighborhoods. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it depends on what neighborhood you're in.
Right.
Like if a neighborhood has a lot of a large Mexican community, boom, you'll see that kind of stuff. But not to the extent that you see it in the West Coast. And I say that because my family recently moved to California. And here in the East Coast, like, one of the things that we always eat, and Sam can attest to this. He's got some Puerto Rican in him. Is the fried like green, what is it? They call it maduros. It's like the sweet plantains and stuff like that. It's very hard to find that in the West Coast. Like, it's very hard to find. Like, at least for my family, it was very hard for them to find that kind of stuff. So it depends on where you live, and that's and the culture that lives there, and that's very. It tells you what's being sold there. Like, so, like you said, these scratch-offs that are normal to you. To us, like, really, that's cool.
Yeah, it's very regional, like you said, depending on
it's very regional. That's
actual
exactly
Latino
right.
group. Yeah,
that's right.
Okay.
So where can they find you, Javier? Like, what's you said you're doing shows. What's the next show you're gonna be? Or where's the next show you're gonna be?
So this right now we're in the month of October because I got a lot of events this month. The next one coming up this week. Well, for me on October 11, 12, 13 in LA was the LA Comic Con. On the 19th, I'm doing another show at a small school. And I got a couple of Day of the Dead events coming up end of October and, of course, November 2nd and 3rd.
Nice.
I'm doing a lecture I do a lecture series at libraries called Comics and Culture. So it's like a 1 hour visual slideshow thing.
When is that? When is that happening?
So it's October 30th here in LA.
Okay.
At Florence Library. But what it is, it's a 1 hour slideshow presentation. I talk about the history of Latino creators in comics in the American comic market. And then I talk about my own work, how I got influenced and how I created El Muerto. And then I end it with a little overview, just a real brief on maybe 5 or 6 current independent Latino creators and what they're working on. Just to take the audience on this tour through the history of Latinos, my work, and then today what's being created by other people across the country.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, no, that sounds very interesting. And definitely, where can they find that more of that information on your website?
Yes, I guess the central hub, just go to Havzilla.com. It's like Godzilla, but with JAV, Havzilla.
Hmm.
And from there, on the right hand side, you can see the links to my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook page.
All right, perfect.
There's a link to my web shop on there, or like I said, they can go to Amazon and get the books there. Also, really quick, I also co-founded in 2011 with my friend Ricardo Padilla. We co-founded the Latino Comics Expo, which is the country's first comic convention dedicated to just focusing on Latino creators of comics, graphic novels, political comics, and then other storytelling mediums like animation, children's books, and film.
That's
So
awesome. Is that information that can also be found on your site? Because I'd like to look into that as well.
yeah, you can go to the LatinoComicsExpo.com. We got a small little site there. We had our recent show in March up in Modesto, California, up north. So we're working on doing the next one for next year in 2020, but we haven't announced anything yet. But so I stay pretty busy between
Yes,
working
you
on my own
do.
comics, the expo, and I also teach comic workshops, like write and draw comics mostly for youth,
Right.
for kids and such. So I do those at libraries, and I work with other organizations, and they hire me to teach like a 10-week thing after school, whatever. So yeah, it's pretty much all comics. I mean, we know the different things, but it all revolves around telling my own specific stories I want to do,
There you
and then
go.
from there, teach it, conventions, hopefully get another El Muerto movie or TV series down the line.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome, dude. You should definitely bring that back. I can't believe it's been 20 years.
Yeah, I can't either. 21 years since the
21
first issue
years.
came out.
Time flies.
Yeah,
Man. Holy cow.
yeah.
Wow.
It's going to be it's good to go along for the ride,
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, listen, I'm definitely gonna order your book, Javier. This has been a pleasure. I mean, we could talk all night about everything that you got going on, but definitely I'll have we'll definitely have the link up for your website. And thank you so much for coming, man. I mean, not for coming, for being on the phone with us.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely. Yeah, thanks, George. Thank you, Sam. And like I said, congratulations on the relaunch. Wish you guys many episodes in the future, and thanks for always supporting independent creators, man.
Absolutely, brother. It was great to hear from you. I'm glad you're doing your thing, and I'm glad that things are going really well. You've exhausted me with the amount of things that you do. I don't even know how I can keep up with you. You're a beast. But yeah,
Oh, I see you hanging and banging there like Hulk Hogan there. You're
there
doing
you
good
go.
job there,
There
Sam.
you
You're
go.
doing good. You're doing good.
Yes,
Uh,
Hulkamania, brother. So thank you.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Javier, and we'll be catching up with you too again. And good luck at your shows.
Okay, you guys. Everybody, take care and a happy Halloween.
You too.
Later, bud.
Bye.
Bye.
Fix this thing. Summon up. That's good. All right.
There you go.
All right. That was fantastic.
dude.
Cray.
Javier, I mean, the story of El Muerto and his whole story about the movie itself was great, dude.
Remember in Living Color?
Yes, I do remember.
Remember
Which
there
one?
was this segment. I don't know if they were like the
two circles and whatever,
No,
the critics,
no,
that one?
No.
Where you going? Where you going with this?
Stay focused. All right? So remember the second? I don't know if they were a Jamaican family and the father's like, I have 14 jobs, and the mother's like, I got 12 jobs, and the other one's got. They were all competing with how many jobs they had. That's Javier. I
Yeah,
mean, the
yeah,
guy has like unlimited amount of jobs.
Yeah, no, it's true.
It's how does he keep up?
I know. Dude, and you know what? I love that he's still doing it. It's not even like he stopped. It's been 21 years since that book came out, and he's still pumping stuff, and he's reinventing himself. He's doing different things. He's got this expo that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'd love to go there next year if once they have the dates, because that's something that's necessary. I mean, it's needed. I think he represents the Latino culture very well, and he's doing a great job, man.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. I mean, just to think, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years, homie. And when you think about the peaks and valleys, the highs and lows, we talked to Jason Cruz recently, and he talked about his experience with adapting his animation and how they changed the essence of his property. And then you have Javier, who they stood true to his property.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
You know what? I think the difference between those two things is one was a large studio, and they were going, like huge mass, like to hit the masses, and the other one was an independent film where they catered more to, hey, let's make sure your vision gets seen on the screen versus the large company that says we know what sells. Right. Let us do our thing. Thank you for the product, but we're gonna adjust it to make sure it sells. Right. So, and the messed up thing is that it I mean, I don't know how well it did, but the second season wasn't even aired in the States for Jason. And that's messed up. He never even got to see it. Yeah. Whereas Javier is, dude, like every day he's like, when it was over, it was like, it was different. It was sad. Like he sounded like he had a great experience, and that's encouraging.
And the fact that he's still rocking. Yeah. That he's still out there. Yeah. I mean, he said, the month of October is an aggressive month. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things going on.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And, I think that's pretty fantastic. He's also gives lectures, and he's a teacher, and he's an artist, and he's a writer, he's a creator, a publisher,
Yeah. No, he's the man. And another thing that stood out in his story was, he said, don't focus on making it flashy. Make sure the story is a great story.
Right.
His thing was Xeroxed and, was sold. He didn't even put them. It was black and white, and boom, movie deal. And the same thing, we were talking about the Turtles a little bit. Turtles, same thing, black and white, sold. So sometimes, we like to, because we like the color and, but sometimes we overexert ourselves and we go broke trying to make it look like the mainstream when the mainstream is like, that's not us.
Right. And I think, it is funny that you brought that up because it brings to mind Mocha.
Yeah.
Right? When you go to Mocha, it's people stapling this stuff.
Yeah.
It's very grassroots. It's underrated. But the people that attend Mocha, the fans, they eat that stuff up.
Yeah.
Because it's heart, it's grit, it's raw, it's grimy, and it's it's an extension of that creator. Yeah. When we fell victim to that too.
I was just gonna say that. I just gonna say that. They were like, color. The hell is that?
Colors.
Nah. We want black and white.
Yes, I know. But we were trying to compete with something that we left our little sandbox, and we walked into the park, and it was like, we're gonna play with those boys, and we couldn't compete. We didn't have the bank, we didn't have the capital. We just had chutzpah.
I know. We had one pair of clothes, one pair of play clothes.
Yes. We just had.
They had a whole wardrobe.
Yes, they had fashion designers. Yeah, dude. They have consultants.
Like, what are you wearing, bro?
We got nothing. He had nada. I think it was pretty fast. So I thought it was pretty cool story, history. I could tell you right now, we could have gone on for days talking to him.
Absolutely.
There was a point where I was like, I'm going to run out of tape.
I know.
But that's fascinating. I mean, when you have that kind of history, of course, the story.
21 years, bro. You can't. We had to kind of cut it short, but we could have talked to him for a lot longer.
Cut it short. We had him on for an hour.
Did we?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So I think that was pretty fantastic. Again, thank you, Javier, for being on. I think November we're going to have our fan appreciation show, which is going to be a live show. We're debating whether to do it on YouTube or Facebook. It's most likely going to be on YouTube, and we want to be able to talk to you. You have questions.
Put a poll up. Maybe you should pull a poll up on the page. I don't know if the fan page can make you do that, but maybe you should put a poll up, see if people would want to see it on Facebook Live or on YouTube.
I did put one. I got one vote.
All right.
So I will.
Try again.
We're
Keep swinging, kid. Keep swinging.
We're climbing.
Keep
We're
swinging,
climbing.
bro.
Keep climbing to the top. Where mine say, "Give it all you got. Give it all you got."
Wow.
Ain't no half stepping. I'm the Big Daddy Kane. Oh man. So anyway.
On that note.
So we want to talk to you, our listeners out there. If you, what would you like us to cover? We definitely want to get to answer any and all questions. But at that time, we'll have a breadth of new shows that we've already had since we've come back into the game, and but we want to talk about what topic do you want to cover. So I'll put up a poll on Facebook, and I will also put it on YouTube. Let us know what you think. Do you want us to go live on YouTube? Do you want us to go live on Facebook? What would you like us to discuss is going to be the other question, right? And but it's going to be it's no guest on that show. It's just us and you, an intimate setting, some candlelights, glass of vino, right? Some Barry White in the background, and just.
Should I show up that day, or you want to be alone? It's just gonna be Sam and the screen.
Turn on the spotlight. So yes, I think it'll be fun. We're looking forward to it. It's gonna be November. Look for the date. We're gonna post it on our events calendar on Facebook. Again, our goal is to get to how many by the end of the year, George?
1,000.
A G.
1 G.
A G. So help us grow. Again, and if there's anybody out there that wants to get on the show, catch the craze, join our community, hit us up, just like Jake Estrada did. He sent us a 3-paragraph pitch, and it was enough to get me saying, let's get this guy on the show. But we're looking forward to it. Any final words, Mr. Medina?
I think the month of November is going to be fun. We're definitely going to have more independent artists spotlighting what they do. And like you said, if you want to be part of that, hit us up. But yeah, this November is coming, and it'll be a great month. So until next week.
It'll be fantastico.
You know what they got to do.
So if you haven't watched the show...